This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FY Investment Group and your host of Washington Calling, where we interview leading voices from business, politics, and journalism and explore the topics that impact you, the viewer. Today, we are fortunate to have a distinguished guest, and his name is Saeed Naqvi. He's a senior Indian journalist, television commentator, interviewer. During his long career, he's interviewed several world-famous leaders and politicians. He's written several books and received numerous awards. Welcome to our show, Mr. Naqvi. Thank you for coming to our show. Good to see you.
Well, welcome. Thanks for having me on your show.
You're most welcome. So let me start out with my first question. Mr. Naqvi, you are one of India's most well-known enduring journalists and columnist. And you have received numerous awards. And so my question to you, please tell our global audience how has been your journalist journey spanning half a century?
Well, Frank, if God came riding a thunderbolt and confronted me with a question, son, what do you want to be in your next life? He will be surprised that I will want this one to be repeated, except for the last 15 years. The profession that I got into in the 60s, one of the remarkable things is that even today, this whole business of sectarianism and identity politics, which in India is called communalism, and casteism and so on. They were always there. But when I entered the portals of the statesman, and down the line in every profession, you need a little bit of help, a little touch, a little lift from people. And I have 5 or 6 names on the tips of my fingers, and they're all, without exception, Hindus. I was promoted. I mean, there was not an iota of, not because Muslims would not help, but Muslims were not in such large numbers in a position to be able to help. And moreover, those who were extremely cautious for rendering help to another Muslim, lest their secularism came into question. So from about 3 or 4 Punjabis from Lahore, 1 Kashmiri Pandit, 1 Marwari, these are the people who helped me place my feet on the stepping stones of journalism. And sir, I have had an innings that would be the envy of many. The fact of being a Muslim was never, ever, except for the last 15 years or so.
So last 15 years has been a lot of obstacles for you. And
not for me. I've already played my knock. I've hit my centuries. I'm sitting in the pavilion and writing my columns. And I still have the esteem of my friends and so on. I mean,
you write columns for what? For Indian Express?
No. Indian Express I walked out of in 1984.
Okay.
For a long reason. I mean, it's a very interesting reason. But 1984, I have been for 38 years on my own in India as a journalist and surviving. And I've traveled to 110 countries.
Oh,
if you know another journalist in your country, I would like to know. And not just going and touching bases, going and meeting the leaders, meeting the sources of news, and so on. And all this was made available to me by the help of my colleagues in the Foreign Office, my colleagues in journalism, and they all, 90% of them were not Muslims. This is
true.
That was the wonderful era of journalism into which when I entered the portals of the statesman in
Very
New
well
Delhi,
said.
that was the picture.
So would you be kind, we are in this together, and together we can help shape a better and brighter future for India and America both. So I wanted to, would you be kind enough to tell our viewers some of the highlights of your journey? What made you so successful?
What made you?
So successful as a
Well,
journalist?
firstly, I must have been competent to begin
I think you are.
to be immodest. I must have been competent, and there was no obstacle in my way on the basis or the on for sectarian reasons or for communal reasons or for Hindu-Muslim reasons. None. They were, in fact, they were applauding me, helping me, and this 110 countries. No, I don't know any Indian who's done it. I don't know whether you know any American journalist who's done it, but all helped by the whole Indian system, and in which I interviewed people that would be the envy of any journalist. So yes, I've had a good knock, I've had a good innings, and but as I reflect from the pavilion, I see that things are both socially, politically, and professionally not what they used to be. There are two things here. One is every generation believes that his and hers was the golden era, and after him, the deluge. So that's one. That's one. It is just possible. But I think the social situation, not just in India, globally, globally, I mean, look at the surge of the far right in Germany.
Yes,
Look
and
at the
also in
surge.
the United States.
Next month is going to be elections in Spain.
Correct.
Vox may well be the party. So therefore, you have the whole world is in this tizzy, and you, Frank, must one day do a program of an Indian perspective of why the world has gone the way it has.
That's very well said. How much do you believe has the working of the media changed from the time you started your distinguished career? Has it been changed?
Changing, radically, drastically.
Is it more open, more independent?
Big money got into it.
Yeah.
And it became a plaything in the hand of the corporates. The corporates began to run the media, and the corporates had a deal with the politician, and the politician and the corporate together, they squeezed the media. So today, an independent media is not available. So there's some guerrilla action going on in the social media, but that has its own disadvantages, because guerrilla action can be done by the other side also. So you have a whole lot of misinformation on afloat.
And also, it's not open and transparent anymore, and not independent as you used to be. Correct?
Yes, exactly. So independence is, look, what is truth, said jesting Pilate, Pontius Pilate, and would not wait for an answer. There's a famous line. So what is independence? Independence also is a word that has to be qualified. I mean, when I joined the Statesman, there was no paper as independent as the Statesman, because the way it was structured. There were 12 English companies. They all had shares they were on the board of governors, but no one had majority shares. So therefore, no one could cancel out the other. But the first Indian editor of the Statesman, Pran Chopra, he was another fellow whose benefactor, who was my benefactor, in fact. He helped me a great deal. He became the first Indian editor of the Statesman, which otherwise had been under the British. Now, he was also the first editor but also the first one who was sacked. And why was he sacked? Because the whole political class had come up, and the national front government that came into being in Calcutta, in Bengal, the Statesman was a Bengal centered newspaper. So he had to support the United Front government. By which time the Board of Governors had changed. And they said, look, if you support the United Front, the communists are in it. Are you going to support them also? What could Pran do? He was sacked. So he became the first Indian editor of the Statesman of anywhere in India who became editor of the Statesman and also the first one who was sacked.
I want to shift my gears, Mr. Naqvi, if you don't mind, and talk a little bit about Modi and Rahul's visit to the United States.
Yes.
As you know, the Prime Minister Modi is making a state visit. I have been invited as President Biden sent me an invitation to be the guest at for the state dinner at the White House, and also I've been invited to several other places as well. So tell us a little bit about, he has a state dinner at the White House, a luncheon at the State Department, and also he's addressing joint meeting of the Congress as well. And I've been invited to that as well, and several other engagements. I'm sure you also know that the leader Rahul Gandhi completed a 3-city tour, including New York and Washington.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on these 2 visits? Do you think Rahul Gandhi's visit had any bearing on what he tried to accomplish? Do you think Rahul Gandhi has an attempt to counter the growing divide between of India and within India diaspora? What's your thoughts about disqualifying Rahul Gandhi from Parliament? And then I will get back to the Prime Minister Modi in a minute.
Well, Rahul Gandhi being disqualified, that is part of a very wretched part of the Indian internal politics. I don't think we want to take that route. We don't want to get into that because that's a huge story by itself. Why he was disqualified. But the fact of the matter is that at the moment there is a triangular situation: United States, India, and China.
Mm-hmm.
Now, any 2 sides are heavier than the third. It's like a triangle. Any 2 sides of a triangle are together stronger than the third. So India has set itself up. India is at a very sweet spot just now. Everybody is wanting to woo India. Everybody is wanting Indians to support them. Everybody wants them to, because this whole China factor is so obsessively followed in your country, in America, that they want India to become the second line of that, second angle of the triangle, the United States of America. Now, there are huge doubts in America on that one. There is an article written by Ashley Tellis,
I know,
who in fact is one of the authors of. He came here with Ambassador Blackwell. I knew him, and he has written an article.
Okay.
Ambassador Blackwell, Robert Blackwell, was George Bush's ambassador here.
Yes.
He was very much into this nuclear deal that India signed, very much. He and Jaishankar, our foreign minister, they were very good friends. They are very good friends. And recently he is asked the question that if push comes to shove, India is not going to be part of any alliance that the United States offers against China. Now, that is a big debate going on. There are 2 words. The quibble is on 2 words: alliance and partnerships. So we see ourselves as partners. The United States is into alliances. So that is a little line which has to be negotiated.
Right.
While you are having your dinner in the White House, the backroom boys will be working on that one.
Okay. So do you believe that the relationship between India and Pakistan is based on the mutual commitment to the US-India partnership, and it is defined, as President Obama said, is a 21st century partnership with India and relationship with India?
Well, India is the rising power, but unfortunately, it has miles and miles to go before it catches up with China.
Before it goes.
Catches China is way ahead. So that is the big demoralizing factor, the sheer scale on which Chinese have gone ahead, and we are still. So therefore, we have Western support, we have the Western media support, we have the Western media and therefore the Western propaganda support. All of that is there, but none of it ends up by neutralizing the sheer difference on the scale of the success of two distinct systems, Chinese and Indian.
So what are the shared differences that you're talking about?
Well, I mean, on everywhere, in space, in the next Kissinger's recent interview, 8-hour interview with The Economist,
Right.
in which he said something very important. He said, you've got 5 to 10 years left within which to close your deal with Chinese, because otherwise you will lose control. AI is going to take over. Artificial intelligence is going to take over. So really the future, one doesn't know how technology is going to determine many things that are there in the future.
And I want to also talk to you and get your views and thoughts. Where do you see India in 2047 when it celebrates 100 years of independence from the British rule? And
there are many, sorry,
go ahead.
Frank, that's a very good question, very pertinent question, but the answers are many. But the two mainstream answers are the following. One lot of Indians, of which the BJP and Narendra Modi are the head, they want a Hindu Rashtra, a Hindu nation by 2047, 100 years of India's independence. There is the other side, which is looking for a more federal India, which is looking for a more secular India, which is looking for a more multipolar India, you see. And therefore, these two visions are in direct conflict. And who is going to come on top? We will get some indication in the 2024 general elections here. And that will give us some clue as to who is, because recent elections in Karnataka, the BJP lost. And if it loses the next election, say in
Maharashtra,
in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh, then I can toss up a scoop for you. Think, supposing the elections that take place in October, because no one wants to face a series of defeats and then go into a general election. It is just conceivable that the strategists might say, although on that side, there are some strategists who say, well, for the states, it is the BJP. For the nation, it is Modi. So therefore, in the general election, the Modi factor will work.
In 2024.
Including 2024.
But we do not know what's going to happen.
There's a school of thought.
Okay. But we do not know what's going to happen after 2024, the next general election that occurs.
Well, the election itself will give you an indication.
The election for the various states are provinces.
There is a general election for India the new parliament in India will be elected in 2024.
Okay.
So therefore, in that, if the BJP loses and if Modi loses, then you have a new combination coming on top. To preempt that, it is just possible that they go and advance the elections. Why would they advance the elections? Because they've lost Karnataka, and in the news, there are some state elections coming up. And if they lose them, then the whole cadre will be demoralized for the big national elections. So rather than face state elections in a negative way, why don't you advance the date and go in for early elections? This is one school of thought, which I have shared with Frank Islam, and where therefore and through him with all who are watching your very popular program.
Thank you very much, Mr. Naqvi. What do you think will be the development in India in 2047 in terms of the aerospace and agriculture, education, employment, and also the commerce industries, and also the infrastructure, and so on and so forth? Do you think that will be there better? It will be a developed country rather than a developed country?
We are, what is happening is, what happens in all the liberal democracies have become illiberal democracies by and large. What is going on is that the corporate controls the electoral outcome also. How? By controlling the media. No one controls Frank Islam's media, but they do control the media, which is the echo chamber for Narendra Modi here in this country. Therefore, it becomes extremely difficult for the opposition to find space in that echo chamber, which is controlled by the electronic media. And so that has to be, that is a correction. That is why democracies are, look, what is going on in Europe? What's happening? Trump may come back. I mean, don't forget, you are going to be in the dining in the Oval Office, and you're going to be in the banquet. But remember, howdy Modi at Houston?
Yeah, I remember.
Yes. So howdy Modi, is he going to, it'll be interesting for you as a newsman to ask, is he going to meet his great friend, Trump, will he find an occasion to say hello to him? It'll be nice.
I do not know what the future holds, but I hope he doesn't come back. That's my personal view.
Yeah.
But
well, I remember John Kerry.
Yeah, I know.
He used to, before the elections of 2016, he was holding a press conference. Yeah. And he said, now listen, this nation, please sort it out, because I have to meet world statesmen. And they think that America is going through this circus and a joke. Please end this joke. That is how Trump was regarded by the then Secretary of State. And when Trump trumped everybody on that night
in the election,
I was there for that election. Oh boy, what a night it was!
And I was a supporter of Hillary Clinton so I still see the President Clinton and Hillary Clinton all the time.
So let us see who is coming up.
But I think he'll be indicted. But even if he indicted, he has a very small share of his popularity. But we'll see what happens. We do not know what's going to happen.
Yes, we don't know.
It's going to be hard to predict the future.
Yeah.
My last question to you, Mr. Naqvi, is the resolution of conflict between India and Pakistan. Do you think both countries can live in peace and harmony as they move forward? And
India and Pakistan were born in hatred. But there was a period under Nehru and others when people traveled. Cricket teams came here. Our cricket team went there. The Pakistani team was very popular here. Our teams were very popular there. Then something happened. Pakistan had an identity problem then in the beginning, which is we are because we could not live with them. So therefore, an artificial tension with India became the sort of raison d'etre of Pakistani state. That is well past. Now we have a problem. We have a problem, namely that Hindu consolidation requires the other, and the other is Pakistan. Because if we are going to have a Hindu Rashtra by 2047, then we need the other to stoke this embers of Hindu nationalism. And therefore, friendship with Pakistan is not on the electoral cards of the BJP, because the tension continues, Hindu consolidation takes place. Even as you and I talk, there is tension in just nearby state of Uttarakhand. So this kind of thing, it may be an incident in some small part of a state, but the media amplifies it, and it becomes a national concern. And so therefore, India and Pakistan, there is another factor. I don't know how you can check it, how I can check it. We are constantly in an election mode.
Mhm.
There was a Karnataka election. Now there's going to be a Rajasthan election. And therefore, the party concerned needs to mobilize, and the parties that are mobilized on sectarian lines will not shake hands with Pakistan at this time, unless and until there is a period. Now, what is happening is that the world is changing. In that whirlwind, there may be something strange may emerge. The world is changing. Did you ever dream that Riyadh and Tehran will shake hands?
Right, they did.
Did you ever imagine that Israelis will be forced to accept an American edict that now listen, we have to allow Iran a little leeway?
Right.
Did you ever imagine that? So
No.
strange new world is facing you, is facing us. In this new jadoo, this new abracadabra, if Gogia Pasha can pull out an Indo-Pakistan entente, why not? I mean, if Riyadh and Tehran can meet, why not these two
That's a
neighbors?
good point you made.
Yes.
Under the current conditions, I'm not sure that will happen, but could potentially happen. I think it's better to live with Pakistan.
And if the Americans, where you will be at all the banquets, if they are putting pressure on the Israelis to go reasonable, if the Mahmoud Abbas and the Chinese are putting pressure to sort out the Palestinian issue, if all of that is happening, I think Indian and the Indian diaspora and Indian intellectuals in America should not be left sleeping by the lamppost. You should wake up, work on your American constituencies, say, listen, work, let there be peace in the Indian subcontinent.
That's a good way to
And
put
lo and
it.
behold, you will be applauded.
Well, that's very nice of you to say that. And thank you for watching. This is Frank Islam wishing you a great week. Thank you for watching, and take care, and we'll talk to you later.